You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
We're all on Zoom?
I don't have the Zoom on, so.
What's up? You don't have this? Do you want to take a look at it?
I can access the meeting, but I can't stream out, I don't think, unless I'm the owner of the meeting, and I haven't been able to get the login.
Okay.
With the verification code. It'll be streamed out though.
All right, we'll figure out how to manage that next week. So we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Lori. Go ahead, Lori.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Damn, I had it once before. Lori is our new town administrator. She'll be beginning on Monday, April 28th. And as Steve mentioned, we can hardly wait. So welcome to Swanzey. Many tried, but few were chosen. Let's see, is there any changes? Are there any changes to the consent agenda? All right, Mark.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from, motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Public input. This is your first of two opportunities. We expected to have something for Mr. Tempesta, but we'll have it later when he arrives. All right, first appointment is Kevin.
So we have some properties to review. You've got your list.
Yeah, looks like you've done quite a bit of work.
So I've broken this up into two sections. I want to review the first one.
It seems like you've got payment plans in place for most of them.
Yes, but if you notice there's two sections there.
Yeah.
So the first section is pretty straightforward there. But I guess my question or concern is that in a number of these, their payment plans do not cover their current year taxes.
Right.
And that's the issue. We're putting off the end. So certainly I can start with getting a little tougher. A letter explaining facts, so to speak, to them, and requesting that they review their payment amounts. At least they should be equal to what their current taxes due are, at least.
Right.
But I pay more, so I think that
So what are your thoughts on that? Just in reading it, it seems like you have people in pretty good situations with plans, but
yeah, but
they're falling behind.
well, the payment amounts, just looking back at it, don't equal, like the first one, that payment amount does not equal last year's taxes. They make all the payments on time every month. They do not equal.
So what do you propose?
Well, I guess I'm going to start to have to, consult with them and ask them what are their chances of bringing up the monthly payment.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that would be the first step.
What would you like for a time period on that?
60 days.
So through the end of June?
Yes.
Gives you a little extra.
Yeah.
Are there any in the second group that are more of a challenge?
Yeah, the second group, so if we want to start with that, with the first one, that's 107. So I've been in contact with that's a manufactured home in the park. And I've been in contact with the park bookkeeper, treasurer. as you can see in my notes there, is the condition of the property. They're behind, and I've had can't get any communication from them. They're not responding to anything.
Is that the one that's behind in Park Ramp as well?
Yes. This is, yes. So I guess at some point we've got to, what do we do? It's a mobile home in a park. So what kind of appetite do we have for that?
But you've been in touch with their treasurer?
Yes.
And
Yes.
maybe you could work collaboratively. That's what we tried to do
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah. I don't know, do you want to have some input on this? Jim?
First of all, I'm not sure if they're behind in the back ramp. I don't think they are. I think he does. They lost their membership, so they immediately go to another price of rent. And I think it's an automatic withdrawal, so I think that's all whack. What is the amount? 27?
That's the total amount.
And you got no response? It's a deal. If you want me to look into it, I can do it. I'll try to get a response. And if you want, come and table it now.
Well, we're looking at through the end of June now, so it's really more working collaboratively with your group.
Okay. So let me put that on my agenda and I'll talk about it with the board. Is that all right?
Sure. Yeah,
You don't want
okay, so the next one on the 150 Marcy Hill. They've committed to payment plans that they've struggled to keep up with. And they're going to end up falling further and further. And I'm in a fair amount of communication with them. They do need, they set up payment dates, I can come in this date. I invariably get an email, it's going to be late. So I guess again, I'm kind of looking for some, how tough can it be? This is a manufactured home, but it's on its own land. So that's a little more.
No mortgage?
No.
Have you talked to them?
No, she's not on this property.
Could we bring her into it? And because of the after effects, if we move forward, just see if with her there's something that can be done. Maybe put that on a shorter time frame.
Yeah, and I guess my initial thought on that is if we get Ed involved, are we just moving one money from one pocket to the other?
It's just eventual. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we take it out of hers to pay out that, but we can explore that.
Just, maybe just a conversation.
Yep.
We know the result otherwise.
Well, that's just it, I guess, you know, how hard of that, I'm willing to do what we gotta do. I guess I don't want to want to.
But we'd like to be able to keep people in their homes for sure.
Yep. Okay, so I'll consult with it with that. The good news is on the next one, 64, he's paid up. He came in and paid everything. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of money there, but he's covered.
With all the positives.
Yes. So since writing this up last week, the next one, 31, they did come in and make a payment. I finally was able to get a hold of them through the management company. That's another manufactured home in the park. They came in and gave me $500 and committed to $300 a month. So I think at this point, I could contact finally with them. That would be one that I think we can, a little more patient and see how that goes.
So you'll let that run through the year?
I would say yes.
Good.
Okay, so the last one, 422. This is just not a good situation. The code enforcement officer has had probably at least 3 complaints that I know of on the condition of this property. One, in fact, on Monday was in.
if they're willing to take advantage of it.
We can explore that.
We have done that before. Josh has worked with us on that.
Okay.
But we need participation.
Josh has had issue with the resident not wanting to bring recycle, they were gonna let him bring all the garbage, like 2 loads, and then he didn't want to do it. And now the husband's not in the picture right now for the next 2 years.
Well, she initially, we started talking here a month or 2 ago, she initially was going to start with the $400 monthly payment. But that fell apart when the power was shut off. And she had to get that back on. So I guess it's a question of how long does this go on?
You know, my opinion, I think we should go as fast as we can and just prolong what's going to happen. I just think it's inevitable where this is going to go. Right, Kevin?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And talking with her, I think last week, she said that she can handle $400 here, but I'm just not confident that that's the case, given what's gone on. You know, we're looking at over 17 now into the town. And yeah, maybe we got to have some, I guess, respect or concern for the neighbors that are getting irritated.
That's what my problem is, mainly. The abuse that's going along with it. I mean, I wouldn't mind working with someone, but this seems to me that we're not going to get no feedback on the other end. And I respect for the neighbors and the people, and I'm strong about that. I mean, I think we could try it. It'll be a far. I'll try it. I think they need to show some on the other end, getting some, pick up some garbage, and you just have to help too. But I don't know, it's only getting worse, and I get calls all the time. It's pretty bad.
I'm one of the neighbors that complain, so I'm kind of abstaining from this.
The other than the neighborhood?
Yeah, I call it yours again.
Is there another one that is a problem too, maybe? No, that's the one.
Let's circle back on that one, maybe reach out to Ed again and talk with Cordell and figure out a path forward.
Is maybe if Chris has some time, maybe he and I go out there and, you know, cleaning it up, code enforcement, and then trying to, you know, figure out what the long-term plan is financially. Is that viable?
So figure a couple of weeks to put that together.
Yeah, I'll talk to Chris tomorrow. We'll figure out a time sometime in the next week or so, ideally. And I call her, I guess, trying to make a point of it, just show up.
Right. And show them the respect.
Well, yeah, I just say, you know, as I did have a conversation with her last week, I kind of cautioned her that the code enforcement officer wanted to challenge her at some point because we've gotten some concerns about the property. Didn't want to step out of our lanes and do it, but I also want to prep her that we've got some issues.
All right, you want to participate in that?
I would love it.
All right, is that all right? A couple of weeks.
I would love it.
All right. You get to abstain.
I am, yes.
Okay. So I think we've gone through the ones we need to go through. I guess we're going to hold off on these, most of these for right now. So the ones that, just to review this, the ones that we question are the last one.
Right, and the one that you're going to work, the other one you're going to work with Jim on, or Jim's going to take a look at that way.
Okay.
107.
I'm gonna try to work 107, and I'm gonna assist you with homework, right?
Okay. So, just bear with me here. So I deed waivers that need to be signed. Shall I leave those with you to be signed? They can be signed later tonight?
Yep.
Okay.
But they're going to put that on the packet.
No, they're not in the packet.
That what I'm saying.
No, I've got to
I think you got your stamp.
I didn't even bring it.
Oh my God, this is a stamp night.
It is?
What is it?
I'm going home to get it.
All right, thank you.
All right, so, I guess just one more item that I added to the agenda at the last meeting, and I guess wanted to have a discussion about EMD. So, you guys are all aware that Pam's left, and I know and I guess in some aspects, we need to probably give this department some more attention. Put more effort. I've had it.
So you're talking about emergency management?
Yes. And I guess I've talked to one resident that's interested in becoming involved. And he seems like he's been involved in that type of work and business.
Something you were talking about? Okay. So you want to just pursue that?
Well, yeah, I guess is there any goals, recommendations, direction you want us to head in and try to improve this, get everything going, so that we're doing a little bit more than what we have.
Why don't we review what is being done? Because I think it's one of those that once people are put in a position, you kind of forget about it, or I kind of forget about it. And I think it would be helpful for Mark and Jim anyway, or Mark's probably more aware of it.
Yeah.
Having been on the police force and fire. And,
The EOC has kind of been dismantled.
yeah.
So there's nothing there. I don't know if that's something to incorporate with either what will be the vacant fire station or the new fire station.
Well, we had talked about putting a room in the new fire station as a possibility of attracting grants. So maybe before you come back, you can talk with Eric to determine whether there's an opportunity while we're in the design phase, or not the design phase, but the drawing, the construction drawing phase, to determine if there's an opportunity to address that. Because that was discussed by the committee, and it was discussed during the course of the project.
Okay.
But that's for the new station, not town hall.
Okay. All right.
You want to come back in a month, 2 weeks?
Let's say one.
Okay.
And I need to just organize these things, just not leave it with me anymore.
I still with Mark. We're running around.
All right, just those two.
All right, you're all set?
Yes.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll be free to address it if you want. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the board meeting. And Lisa. A few weeks ago, you brought to the board about the bridges and you wanted some questions answered. So, and I volunteered to look into that. And I did have several meetings with Joe over it.
Okay.
Lisa, I think personally, I think we're coming a long way. It's going in the right direction. I know we have a long way to go. But you got to remember, this has been a problem in the town of Swanzey for a lot of years that nothing's been done. You know, we allowed it for too long and we created a monster, and I think now we're attacking it at a good speed. He does have it on his patrol of every week somebody spending time there. You must notice that there is guys there. But his argument was that we are short-handed now in the police force, and he said, Jimmy, I just can't dedicate someone right now. We do have a good outlook on what's the future of strengthening the police department, so we might be able to spend some more time out there and address it. But I've noticed a lot of the locals now are slowing down. He does answer all your, when you send pictures, I follow up on that. You send a lot of pictures of different companies, and I can't even get on the phone. He's already on the phone with them, calling them. He followed up on the two that were over there. It was Matt, what was the company's name?
Yeah.
And then BDM, Arlington Paving. He did call them the next day.
And I have not seen their truck since.
You haven't seen
I
it?
have not seen it.
And I personally talked to the owner too, because he was a little defensive over it and squawking about that other people. I says, yeah, we got to start somewhere. And I think once people are realizing that we're pressing on it. It's gonna slow down even more. But I think, Lisa, on this, I have to say, this is gonna take us some time to really conquer it. I mean, I went over it tonight, and there was a guy right in front of me with the towing and trailer. And I was, they had a mower and everything on it. It's just, it's gonna be a big thing to tackle, but I really feel positive of where we came in the past year when we started addressing this, 6 months ago? More than that.
Cameras in about 6 months.
Cameras, and I think we've came a long way considering where we started. You know, if we weigh out where we started and where we are now, I think we're going in the right direction. You know, so, you know, it's a difficult thing about the overweight thing, and I think he would probably answer that better than I would, because he is the chief of police, and I'd rather you talk to him personally and ask him about the ticketing on the overweight things. I think it's smarter for him to answer that question than me being in the middle of that.
So I've spoken with an officer from the DOT.
From where?
One of the DOT officers,
Yeah.
Officer Phillips.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have the scales, and they're the ones who can give tickets for overweight. He said they're more than happy to monitor that bridge. They're more than happy to sit down there. He has reached out to the chief, and he's looking for some direction from the chief as to which vehicles he wants them to concentrate on. Does he want them to concentrate on the moms with the big Suburbans going to soccer practice, or do they want them to concentrate on the trucks and the commercial and the trailers? And the last time I spoke with him, he has not heard back from the chief. But the DOT is more than willing to sit there and bring their scales.
And the DOT contacted them, and they're waiting for an answer?
They're waiting for an answer from the chief.
I'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
I'll find out what's going on. When did you have this conversation with DOT?
About a month ago.
Phillips, did you say?
Yeah, it's Trooper Phillips. He worked for state police, but we concentrate on commercial vehicles. We've got around and pick up the scales, so they're like out on the bypass, so they have the scales set up.
Interesting. So I'll follow up on that for you, Lisa.
Thank you.
But thank you for your concern, and you know, you're making an impact on, I know you're the squeaky wheel of this, and
I'll keep sending pictures.
very good. Very good. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Mr. Biddle, Fire Station Bond, New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. Thanks for all the information you provided.
In the interest of two new board members here who haven't been through a bond deal, I outlined some of the general concepts on the first page. In your packet, it's bond basics. I think it's back about 57 or somewhere, 842.
Close.
It's a big packet.
What number did I give you, Laura?
67.
They're just 3 pages that matter. And the first is sort of broad concepts. The second page deals with where we are with all bonding needs for the town for the next 5 years or so. And the third goes down into the weeds. You can get as deep into the weeds as you want to. On the first page, bond basics. There's been a whole series of debates as to whether we reserve for funds or whether we bond. And over the years, the town has sort of migrated to a policy that we bond for large ticket, long-lived assets. Regrettably, we have 6 of them we're staring at right now. Over 5 or 6 years, you drag out of them. 3 fire trucks, town hall, DPW, I'm missing one. self-contained breathing apparatus, which is minor. So when you save the reserves, two factors come into play. One, typically you penalize the people in the near term for the benefit of the people in the long term. Secondly, and lately, you are saving at a rate of about 2%, and inflation is considerably greater. So each year, your savings diminish. So if you bond in most bond markets, where bond rates are lower than inflation, you're in effect in what's called negative interest, and it works to your favor. That doesn't mean that you should be crazy and go out and borrow everything, but that's sort of the dynamics of what's happening. There's also an accounting concept called matching, where you try and match revenues to expenses over a given period. Well, financing a long-term asset is much the same thing. You try and match the capital cost of that asset over the period of its useful life. In the immediate case of the fire station, given Swanzey's history, we're probably looking at a 100-year asset, but certainly a 30-year asset.
It took us almost 5 or 10 to get here, and it's not built yet.
It's been a haul, 8 years. But who's counting? The key decision that you have to look at this evening is the term of the bonds. And the bond bank run 3 cases, and then I took those cases and created a small model, which I'll get into. 20-year payoff, 25-year payoff, a 30-year payoff. There are 2 factors that you've got to look at when you decide how long you want to go with bonds. One is how those bonds are going to fit into the future capital structure of the town. And as I mentioned, we're looking at 6 different financings within 5 years. Now, some of those will probably get stretched the way they always do, but that's the schedule. And I don't think anybody would argue that we finally have to do something about town hall. DPW desperately needs more space, and at some point we're going to need some fire trucks. So they're real and they're upon us. So whatever we do with these bonds has to fit in with those bonds, plus what bonds we have out there. Now, in analyzing this, I came across some very good news. Where several of our bond issues, this shows how I've been doing this for too long, are being paid off, most notably the TIF bond, which is a big ticket item. And if receipts come in on the tax increments this year the way they did last year, we may get it paid off a year early, which would be grand news because all those monies would revert back to the town. And that's a much better environment than we have looked at in the past. The timing of the bond, which is why we were rushing it the last week, the bond bank has 2 sales each year, generally, a July sale and a December or early in the new calendar year. The July sale is the sale that we're going after because we intend to be very close to full out on the fire station by the time the bonds are sold, and will be full out by the time they settle and we get our money. and we should have the money drawn down by year end. So, timing is one thing. The next thing is, if you go long, it's going to cost you money. The longer you go on the bonds, from 20 to 25 to 30, the more interest they charge as to interest rate. Also, the more interest you will pay because your debt is outstanding 5 or 10 more years. So how do you weigh these costs back and forth and get the best deal for the town? The answer lies in one, how does it fit within the debt schedule? And here a longer bond is better with all this other stuff that we've got to do. And two, how large what is called the spread is in interest rates between a 20-year bond, a 25-year bond, and a 30-year bond. Amazingly enough, at present, at least according to the bond bank, there's only a 17-point spread, 17 basis point. A basis point is 1/100th of a percentage point. So a little under 0.2% difference between a 20-year bond and a 30-year bond. I've been doing this for about 40 years. I don't think I've ever seen a spread that small. That said, Washington is a state of chaos. The financial markets, if you looked or heard, are in a bit of state of chaos. The benchmark 10-year Treasury bond is fluctuating huge amounts each day. So, yes, you've got to make your mind up for the purpose of the application, which we finally got together, which should be filed this week or early next week. But key dates. You will have until July 16th to change your mind. That's when everything goes final. Oh, pardon me. I'm reading this wrong. The last change date is May 23rd. So we've got to file this. I filled it out with 30 years. It can go in with 30 years and we could change it. But it'd be a heck of a lot easier on everybody if you've made up your mind this evening. With one caveat. I will look at the bond market very closely as the date of May 23rd comes up. And if it goes wildly off, you're going to hear from me very quickly. And we'll sit down and debate it again. So your main call this evening is 20, 25, or 30.
And your recommendation based on what you said with regard to the basis points is 30?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty basic. The second page deals with proposed debt on the top, fire truck, DPW, town hall. This is all CIPC. Fire truck, one of them's a ladder, the breathing system, and then another fire truck. There are 2 engines and 1 ladder in there. The second half of it deals with the debt service, and that's what I was referring to earlier. If you look at the bottom, we have sort of a baseline of debt service that we have, and then we have what we would add to the burden of what the taxpayer is paying. And the taxpayer pays based upon what the debt service is on the bonds. The actual debt on the bonds doesn't enter into it, other than causing the debt service. But what goes to the tax bill is principal plus interest each year. So I added in, I took the baseline I said, here's what's scheduled, and then here's what's coming off. And it runs with a slight uptick, and I will say much lower than advertised during the deliberative process for the fire station, mainly because we aren't going to start paying on the fire station bonds until early 2026. But it only goes up 100 grand, which is modest. And then it's pretty level, even while taking on all these deferred items, or at least certainly town hall is and DPW. So that's the context you're working under. The third, and we can get into this as deep as you want, but I think you should be aware of the numbers. This is down in the weeds. Up at the top, I showed the rates for a 20-year, 25, 30-year, and the amount of the bonds, which is steady, and what the annual debt service would be under each of these. And then the amount of savings. I took the amount of savings of $36,782 in annual debt service. And I said, okay, if we had an extra, call it $38,000 each year, and we applied that to debt service on a 20-year bond, how much could we borrow? The answer is $500,000, which is about a fire truck. That's how you stay level with your debt service.
It's great analysis, Steve.
It's really that simple. But I also will tell you on the bottom 3/4, I ran out the interest payments under the 20, 25, and 30. And the number is pretty large when you deal with the difference between 20 and 30. It's a little over $700,000 over 30 years. So you say, and this gets into the time value of money, you say, well, that's great. How do I measure that right now? And the answer is to take a present value of that income stream, which is exactly what I do on the right side of it. I say, okay, if we're going to pay out this extra money over all these years, how much would I have to put in the bank right now to cover that added debt service? And the answer of 20 versus 30 years done at 4% comes out to $367,000. Now, that's the added cost of the fire station in real dollars to go 30 years versus 20 years. But the other factor is, if we do that, we can go out and borrow $500,000 more. And 500 is greater than 367.
Does that 367 take into account inflation, or is it based on today's value?
Today's value. That's a bridge too far for me. A little above my pay grade.
Hypothetically, it's striking.
Actually, there is a formula for it. It's based upon an internal rate of return. But this is confusing enough. But I thought that you should see the big, ugly number. Now, I'm strongly for 30 years. I felt we should go for longer bonds, and Mr. Branley and I had long debates about that. But this is a case where it's large enough. The useful life is, with a hurricane, 50 years, probably. So we're in good stead there. I I'm very interested in the town keeping on with its capital program. I'm very interested in town hall finally getting done. DPW getting done. And I'd like to have the firemen riding around on something that probably is not qualified as an antique. So that's sort of the long and short of it. I'm happy to go into more detail. You do have time to change your mind. The market may change your mind, but it goes up and it comes down, and gosh, it pretty much at the end of a week or so, it winds up about where it was. No guarantees.
So as of the 23rd, is that the firm rate, or is the rate still adjusted as we get into July?
The rate is what it is the day the bonds are sold.
On the 23rd? Oh, so what do we do?
The bonds are, say it's sold July 16th. It's the market that day. There's no way around that.
So either way, it's a risk, but it's a calculated risk.
As calculated as we can do it. Ain't no guarantees. I think, frankly, the bond bank, if I was doing this deal, my last change date would be probably the 1st of July at the earliest. That's a big gap, but it's terrible. And it's a little unwieldy too. It's not one borrower or a bunch of Wall Street types. So, and they do a pretty good job. The fire drill with the application is, if you all agree to 30 years, I have it in my draft mailbox. I send it to the bond bank. They make comments on it. We work out any problems we have. I'll bring it back. And I believe there's a resolution that you resolve, that Bill signs it, and then we'll send it in. It's got to be in by the 28th of this month, which is why we've been pushing pretty hard. So you have a little time to think of that.
You prefer the resolution tonight, and then we just move it forward as you're doing the negotiation, so we're ready to go on the 28th?
The negotiation is just doing any error corrections. There's no, the only decision point here is the term.
And there's no benefit for us holding off a week, because if something changes, we have up until the 28th to adjust. Our
Yeah.
rule is the 25th.
Yeah. So,
Any questions? Roy? Megan? Sue? Anyone else have any questions, if you could hear?
Go for it.
Look at that! I didn't pick up on that when you put this, you told me about the sign.
This was on this chair, Bill.
Somebody looking out for you, huh?
And,
All right, so the resolution, we have the motion.
Chairs. I make a motion that we sign off on the bond issue for 30 years.
second.
All right, so the motion is to authorize the board chair to sign the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank application for a bond of $2,500,000 to partially fund the construction of the new fire station at 321 Old Homestead Highway. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
you will also have a large and formal resolution that Divine Millman will draw up, and you'll have your bond hearings,
Right.
2 hearings. And I guess Lori can work that out with Rennell, but Rennell has this down to a drill, and she's very good at it. And our last bond deal is only 2 years old, so, and same timing. So it was August of 22 or 23. So it should be pretty easy from here on in. I just want to watch these rates. And I think you can bail at the end if the market goes horribly the wrong way. Although our latitude here ain't much.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the insight.
Yeah.
Joe DeRusso. Welcome, Joe. Are you Lori?
I'm not.
Nice to meet you, Joe.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Since Steve was just talking about the fire department, we'd like to start with an update on the halftime schedule.
Sure.
Essentially, the project started March 31st, 2025. We've already started to do some work on site erosion control. All the topsoil has been stripped off and going over the plans. I met with Chad Brandon from Fieldstone out there to discuss a couple of issues, not issues, but items. So that is moving in the right direction. The construction manager request proposal was authorized for the architect and for Chad Brandon, as you know. We're underway there. The bids are due on April 28, 2025 to get a general contractor on board. After we get those bids, we can take a look at them, and the plan is to move on that right away where a general contractor can be working with the architect and the site and Chad Brennan to come up with a finalized plan and move forward. There's going to be a couple of issues pending permitting, and one of them hopefully isn't going to cause a delays for FHA because the location near the fire department, they have to give approval. We need to touch
FHA or FAA?
I'm sorry, FAA for the airport. They have to give a stamp of approval for it, and we're hoping that doesn't cause a delay.
There shouldn't be any glycol issues on that call.
No, it shouldn't be. It's just a matter of getting them to approve.
I
So
think Chad's already done that calculation.
yeah, he told me last he was waiting to hear back and didn't have a timeline on that. We can follow up with him. Test pits already done on the property for soil. Next week it's slated test borings for the building to take place on Tuesday. They're scheduled to go. So, and then the next thing will be finalizing the site plan and the building, and additional work could start as soon as that site plan is finalized and all the approvals are in place. So it could be as early as the mid-May to start working on it. Estimate 2 to 3 weeks of site prep and have the foundation in place.
When is it going to the planning board?
I'd have to check back with Adam on
That
that.
was the second meeting in May.
I don't have that listed in here, and that is kind of a courtesy. The municipality is exempt, so it's kind of a courtesy that we're going before the planning board. But I haven't got that final date. You said second week of May.
I think second meeting.
Second meeting in May.
That would be also, just in case you missed anything, by going in front of them, how is it helpful to go in front of them?
It's just showing consistency with what other projects are required to do. Like I said, we're a municipality, so we don't have to, but in good practice to follow what is being done with other projects from private property owners.
Good news is it won't be any appeal.
Exactly.
Not a 30-day appeal period.
So yeah, the plan is that DPW will do a good portion of the site, and we'll work that out with whoever the general contractor is assigned. It's a pretty straightforward site due to the land and the material that is there. And then I know the goal of the board is to have the fire trucks out of town hall by November, and I think that's a realistic goal unless we run into some unforeseen delay.
Well, if the borings come back, well,
Yeah.
and materials are available,
Yeah.
we should be able to.
Like I said, I think from the time you start with subgrade, within 3 weeks you could have a foundation in place. It's pretty straightforward.
So we'll discuss that well when that comes up, right? That won't just be.
No, I've already.
The contractor just.
No.
And nothing without talking about it, right?
I've done some work on that already. I've asked both Chad and the architect Katie if there's any reason why the well can't stay. And then the next step is to have it tested to see if it even is, before, put the cart before the horse, so to speak. Figure we'd have a flow test and see what's there for water, see if it is worth saving. But I asked, before I go spend a couple $1,000s on the test, I asked them if that is feasible before we do that. But the next step would be to test the well to see if it.
When you say test, you're gonna test the water.
Flow test, and you might
The
as
flow,
well quality,
the static level is and everything.
yeah. And I haven't received a quote, but I've been told anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 to do all those tests. But there's no sense doing those until we hear back from the architect.
Because we're not even sure if there's a pump in down there.
No, we're not.
But I would imagine there is, because you hit the wires, so the wires are connected to something.
Yeah, and there was water in the water line, so I'm sure there is. I don't know what there is for water quality up there. Most people are further down, hooked onto the water, but I'm not sure of any of the wells in the area. But if the well is has good waters and we can keep it, you might as well keep it. You can use it for things like washing fire trucks, water and grass. It'd be supplemental to the water connection. I haven't heard back. I inquired if both Katie, the architect, and Chad, site design, say that it can stay, then I'll go ahead and have it tested.
Yeah, it would be pretty surprising to me if they tell us that we have to, unless it's sitting on a spot where the evidence can land, you know?
But we could vary.
We could.
Either way, whether it stays or goes, it's a potential issue for depending on where the building's going to be. It's just going to come up with a plan how to keep it intelligently buried or not. Come up with a plan with that.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, make sure that it is functioning, has decent water to even worth saving. Otherwise, you fill it with sand.
I'm really concerned with the value of it. It could have a lot of iron in it, it could have sulfur in it, but what we're going to use it for, it really doesn't matter. It would be more of the flow, how much it makes.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
volume of it would be more. If it's only making a gallon a minute.
Then you fill it with cap. I forgot to fill it with sand, and I forgot the material you put on the top of it.
It's a clay pellet that feels like it's greater than it's amazing. Just feels like cement.
Any other questions on the fire station?
Foundation, is that something that we could do, bid out ourselves, or would it be a part of the general contractors?
You'd be part of the general contract.
But they'd be prepared to move forward on it
Yes.
as quickly as you're talking.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people that are interested in bidding it, and like I said, I think that realistic time frame is within 3 weeks of that, and
Of the plan, of moving forward with the actual site construction.
and yeah, I don't even if we have a site plan, I think it'd be difficult to get going before that April 28th date. So I think as soon as we get the general contractor assigned and we start moving forward on it.
Can you explain, isn't that a change of plans, the foundation from what we originated?
Not
Isn't it
yet.
sitting on a slab?
No, it's a 4-foot wall and slab, but I think I've heard from a couple of contractors that are interested in it. There's money to be saved, which we believe there is in the design. Two of the big issues that I would like to see is make it free span. The current conceptual plan has columns inside, which
I think that's so huge.
you can easily make it free span. So that's one of the things that we're going to look at. And then the other thing we'll look at is doing a full 8-foot wall and getting the building a little bit further off the wall. It would save a little bit on lumber, but the longevity of the building being on a full 8-foot wall would make sense.
And even strength-wise, you're correct, a little better strength the way it sits.
So, and like I said, I think there's some savings elsewhere that would make worth. So once that, that's the idea with getting the general contractor on board, working with the architect to come up with final designs, having those type of suggestions.
Anybody else? Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, next one, North Winchester Street and California Street. Working with the engineers right now in DES, going to have final approval to move forward with everything. The issue I'm going to need to deal with is being authorized to sign the notice of award for a contractor. J. Evans Construction out of Brattleboro, Vermont is the low bid. His bid came in at $1,299,985. The next bid was Mountain Shade out of Jaffrey, and I think that was 1.36 million, and they went up from there. Underwood Construction has vetted out JM Construction. They meet all the requirements. If you're familiar with the FW Webb building, Jay Evans was the one that did the site and the paving on the FW Webb building here in town.
So for this, you just need authorization from the board to award the project?
Yes.
And also to expend the funds from the two trusts?
That is correct.
All right.
Let's make a motion that we authorize DPW Director Russo to sign contract J. Evans Construction, $1.299985 million. And to expend it from $401,100 from road rehab expendable trust fund and $150,000 from sidewalk committee fund, which has been approved by Gordy Hale.
Second.
Could you explain what the balance of the funding?
The balance of the comes from SRF funds. So with a couple DES SRF funds.
What is SRF?
I don't know the exact answer. Yeah, I don't know but it has to do with clean water. What's that?
The F is probably fund.
Yes. I'm not exactly sure, but it's all from New Hampshire DES, so stuff that Mike Brantley worked on ahead of time.
So we're putting $550 into the project.
Correct.
And these funds and the balance is coming from the state.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. I think it's something clean water and storm water, but I'm not exactly sure on the acronym. With that being said, as far as sidewalk, I'll see more on that. We're going to move, DPW is going to move forward on extending the Railroad Street sidewalk for the sidewalk committee. There's been several requests. Gordy came to me last year, started landing on it. So the Railroad Street sidewalk is in pretty poor repair that's out here right now. Some of that is going to be removed and replaced, but the Railroad Street sidewalk is going to run all the way down to just about the intersection of Pine Street, and then it's going to cross over and move towards Summer Street. And we're going to work with Jay Evans said that he would honor the same price he bid on the sidewalk from North Winchester Street. So that sidewalk, we will do the site work and prep for it, and he will pour the concrete as not part of this contract, but as part of this project over here.
So you're doing concrete or asphalt?
Concrete. This is going to be a concrete at the request of the sidewalk committee to match the others. It's going to be a 5-foot concrete sidewalk. No granite curbing down there. There'll be a similar reveal to what's already in place.
So while they're doing this project, we're gonna get them to go over here, while they have equipment and everything here, it just makes sense.
No, we're going to do the site work. They're just going to they're going to form and pour the concrete.
I see.
Right now, DPW, we're currently grading dirt roads. The new grade is working out phenomenal. We're a little bit behind because of the weather. Every time we've been trying to grade, we either have rain or snow, but the goal is that as soon as we get the roads graded, and then there's some other spring stuff that needs to be taken care of, road sweeping, catch basin cleaning, and some other small items, the ball fields, getting all that stuff back up going. Then we will transition over and start working on the sidewalk. The other thing that's going to be addressed while we're over there is Eaton Road. I'm sure if you've driven Eaton Road after a rainstorm or snowstorm, there's a serious gathering of water. We're going to try to remedy that with another catch basin we think can be done. So that work will be starting before too long. Next on the list for an update, sewer plant. As most of you know, there's a solar array going in. We're working on final approval right now through DES to get that up and going. Probably break ground sometime in early May. And then the other ongoing issue is not an issue, but a positive thing is the engineering study of the wastewater plant. That is ongoing. A lot of movement with that. A pilot plan as part of that grant. A pilot plan is being put in place to try a different type of chemical to correct the phosphorus issue. That's going to be up and running real soon. We're just finalizing and getting chemicals ordered on that. So that is moving ahead well. Another engineering, waiting for Lori to come on board for this one. Before Michael left, we did a RFP for an engineering services for the Swanzey Lake Dam. The Swanzey Lake Dam has received a couple letters of deficiency. The engineers, we had about 7 engineers file their qualifications and an interest in it. The next step would be to meet with all these engineers and interview them. We work with some of them are new. I think this is a good opportunity to see what's out there and move forward with that. That once again, there's no design in place. There's no plan at this point. It's just meeting with the engineers, selecting an engineer to come up with a design that's going to correct the issues that the state have identified. The state just got noticed. The state's coming out for another inspection like they do annually, and all the other dams have been rebuilt. That's the last one remaining.
Do you anticipate that to be on the warrant for next year?
Probably not. I think that would, yeah, I think there wouldn't be enough time. So next step would be selecting an engineer and then a funding source for the engineer and then starting on that design to correct those deficiencies.
If you just keep it in the back of your mind, when we have our meeting at Richardson Park sometime this summer, it might, if we've made progress, it might be an opportunity to update them, the people that come out for the meeting.
At
Because
Richardson.
it'll be Swanzey Lake residents.
Okay. The other thing I'm working on is the RFP ready to go out for this year's paving. The roads we're looking to do this year, Forest Ave, Prospect Street right here, which is really bad, and then West Street. West Street's going to be a little bit complicated. West Street on the west side of Route 10. There's currently a sidewalk there that's in poor repair, but the grade of the road, there isn't any drainage there. There's basically a dry basin that fills up with water, and then the road floods. So we're going to remove the concrete sidewalk. I've talked with the sidewalk committee about that, and we're going to just pave the road the same size as what's there for the sidewalk, and we're going to paint and designate a certain area of the paved portion as the sidewalk in order to get that water off the road. I need to speak with the owner of the landscape supply company. I'm going to look to get an easement. We're going to look to put a couple of catch basins in, but the area is so flat there, I'm hoping to get an easement from him to discharge 2 catch basins into his detention pond. I waited to approach him. It was a thought of mine when that landscape company went in, was to approach him about that, but I wanted to see if he was going to have any flooding issues before. But it looks like that system they have in place is working pretty well. I'm sure it can handle a couple of catch basins. So it would require an easement, but the work would consist of, we would go in and do the drainage work, a couple of catch basins, remove the concrete sidewalk, build the road up to get a crown on it, and to get the water off, and then reclaim. The asphalt is in really bad shape. Mike Bradley and I would get numerous complaints on that each year. It was slated for a little bit further out, but we're able to get to it a little sooner, hopefully this year, if everything falls into place with the plan. Within 2 weeks, I should be able to have the RFP out on that, and hoping to hear from the property owner soon about the easement on the 2 catch basins.
So on that sidewalk, are we going to clearly label it with the signage or striping? Or
It'll be striping, and we put some type of sign up to indicate that it's a sidewalk, but I'll see what some of the other, I haven't done anything with that as far as marking, but we'll see what some of the other communities are doing. I know Keene has designated bike lanes, but I was thinking something along the lines, there'll be a clear fog line, and maybe some diagonal white or blue lines identifying it.
It's interesting, I never really been thought of that. So the curbing of the sidewalk won't allow the water to flow. Now you've got a smooth surface that's flow right up the edge of the road.
If you drive over there during a rainstorm, that's why the road's so broken up. A lot of water.
Super idea.
And it's to save money, because in order to come in and correct that and redo the sidewalk and drainage, it would be a substantial amount of money, and I think that would be the best way to go. Sidewalk doesn't get used all that much, but it does get used, and I think this would be a good test to see and possibly use in some other areas.
You seen it done before?
Yeah. If it was a highly traveled road, I think it would like an asphalt berm in between, but then you run it with cutouts for the water. excuse me, but then I think you run into the same problem.
Would you also make a note that we need to follow up with regard to the sidewalk on Old Homestead Highway that we talked to Pat Clark talked to us about?
Up on, past the school.
Basically Sawmill down to the school. Shocked me. It's supposed to be a sidewalk right in front of the house.
Really?
It is, yeah. Saw that on at the voting.
The one issue that we're gonna run into there's gonna be some challenges with that one, I've already looked at it. And the state will not likely allow us to create a crosswalk anywhere to switch onto the other side of the road if needed. So we need to stay on that side. Stefan was starting to talk to some property owners, and then when the grant went somewhere else, it kind of put on hold. But the first leg of it, there's one issue along the way, a drainage structure that is going to take some substantial work. I think initially the talk was to have it on the other side of the road, but I don't think that's going to be an option. And that one challenge will be that one drainage structure in the area like Bell Septic that we're going to have to work around.
That's the massive he was referring to as the front.
I think that is all I have for update.
Great Wall.
Oh, the Great Wall, I had that on my list and I forgot. Yes, the Great Wall's going quite well. The slope is just about done. We haven't been there a couple of days, but the very top of the slope was being constructed and topsoil was being put on. The temperatures warm, they need to get grass planted sooner than later, but the temperatures just aren't there. They'd be wasting their time trying to get grass to grow right now. But the next step would be to get that hydroseeded and get some grass growing on there. And then they'll start tackling some of the drainage up top. I think 4 to 6 weeks is probably a realistic time to have that complete.
We could put some Christmas lights on that roller and make it leave it there. Never can't get out of there.
Gonna have to lift that out of there. Yeah, we lifted the skid steer out of there the other day.
That's it? The crane?
With the excavator, big excavator.
That's it?
You are?
Nice job, Joe.
As a resident
Thank
of
you.
West Street, west side of West Street, I'm really pleased to hear that water just keep taking care of it.
Yeah, and like I said, we recognize how bad the road. What if you're living there, what are your thoughts on removing the sidewalk and having a shared paved area?
I think it actually does get used a lot. That's the first I've heard of having it all on level, but I think if it's well marked, it should be fine.
Yeah, I think so. And where we don't have the funds to
Yeah.
reconstruct it, I think this is the next best option.
We won't have weeds growing up in between the sidewalk.
It's in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, it is.
Mr. Marizal, welcome. Thank you. You've met down in that fine town?
We've worked previously,
Great.
and it's a pleasant surprise. It's a great surprise. It's good to see you again. Mark, formally, David myself.
Hi, Jay.
Fantastic. So, abatements is why I was asked to come in tonight.
Actually, part of it is more educational to help old members.
With that thought, Bill, I'm sorry I didn't make a copy for you,
Okay.
but I'll make sure that I'll email all three of you, or everyone here, a copy. This is for the this is a reference manual. It's put out by the assessment standards.
People want to read it. That looks beautiful. I'm excited to get right into that.
It's very interesting. I watch you game drive.
Oh, I'm so excited to get another.
But at your leisure, okay? And what it does, it takes you through the entire taxation process in New Hampshire. Kind of by January to December, it will inform you of filings, dates, whys, whats, how-tos. It actually is pretty good. From that,
Are you loaded?
yes, well, I was on the assessing standard board for about 7 years, and it was originally done just before I came on, but yes, I've been involved on several updates and so forth in the book.
So you cut it back a little.
No, I think it got fatter, actually. And from that, so we don't have to go back heavy into reading. Just from that book, there are a couple of pages that will get regarding payments. And I brought 4. I hope I certainly I apologize.
You cleared the room.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I don't know who
Oh,
this
this
gentleman is.
is Dave Marizano.
I'm Dave Marizoff. I'm your contracted town assessor
Okay.
and have been for several years now. It's about 9 years now.
Okay.
And,
I just didn't know who you were and.
yeah, I try to keep a low profile. I'm the guy that doesn't get back to me.
Want to give him your address, Mark?
It's on the line. You have a card.
That's what it is. I'm not gonna bring this card home, like, we on the camera, you know.
I made sure the print was very small so that it deters folks from using it. But the abatement process, geez, as selectmen, especially when, newly voted in, you get these abatement recommendations put in front of you. And, you really don't understand, what am I signing here? Why am I giving this person a refund, if you will? And the whole process of the abatement, it's not meant to be adversarial, okay? It's a part of the process. Annually, after the second tax billing comes out, which is the second billing being the definitive value, we bill twice a year. In May, June, the first billing, if you will, that's merely considered an estimate. We're using the prior year's tax rate, the current value. But the reason it's an estimate is because the state's schedule is shifted 6 months off from our assessing year, whereas we live from April 1 to March 31st. There's 6 months, and they're October to September, and they don't collect all their information, RMS1 filings and things of that sort, which aren't due until September. So they don't begin processing tax rates till October, November. And that's when the towns get their official tax rate for that tax year. So the second billing is considered the definitive because we're using that tax rate. And the software, thank God it's software now, and not hard cards like back in the old days, but the software actually takes into account the difference of the old tax rate, how much was paid, and when we plug in the new tax rate for the second billing, it will take into account if there was an overage and underage, and it will reconcile that first amount paid versus what needs to be paid for the entire tax year. And that's why some people, when they get their second tax bill, oh, my taxes went up. We did a revaluation last year, and it was we were at I want to say 62% plus or minus of a level of assessment, meaning the assessments had gone were so much lower. The market had appreciated over the last 5 years so much, so greatly that when compared the assessment to the current sale price, that assessment was only at 62% of what the property sold for. And while we don't deal with individual, everyone's level of assessment, we deal with the median essential tendency points of all the sales. And that's what they would come up with in Swanzey's case, like 62% prior to the revaluation year. Then we go into a revaluation year, and because we're looking for as close to 100% of the market value as we should, the values increase. And people tend to, they see that, but they don't usually, it doesn't really register until after they get that bill. And then, well, this is my tax return, blah, blah, blah. And then it's their right as a taxpayer to, if they feel aggrieved, to file the abatement. The abatement is just a basic form. You've likely seen them already, what the form is like to request the abatement. They have any time from the time after they receive their second bill to March 1st to file that request. If they don't file in a timely manner, it's considered not acceptable, and so forth. As I was looking at this, just to give you the synopsis of abatement requests, 3 broad categories. And you can't just say, well, I can't afford to pay it. For whatever reasons. Other 3 broad categories: physical description errors, meaning, I'm listed as a 2-story, and my cape only has a dormer, not 2 full stories, things of that nature. I have 2 bathrooms, not 3 bathrooms. These are physical descriptive errors. My mold is 14 by 66, not 14 by 62. Physical descriptive errors where we would consider, review, and recommend to the board. Damaged buildings during the tax year. My shed collapsed over the winter. These type of scenarios, or if it was prior to April 1st and it was damaged before April 1st, then it's legit. Our tax year runs April 1 to March 31st. April 1st is like a snapshot in time. Whatever is how it was on April 1st is how it stays on the book for the year, provided there wasn't an act of God, a fire, or lightning damage, which there are other remedies for that as well in a prorated situation. And the last descriptive is valuation opinion differences, and that's where a taxpayer can say, hey, there were 3 Lake Cape properties on Main Drive, Swanzey, and my other 2 neighbors were I think were fairly similar, and yet my assessment is $20,000 higher, and I don't agree with that. And that's an opinion evaluation difference. So these are reasons. You gotta have a reason. I can't just throw something out and see if it'll stick to the law. But what these requests do is they kickstart the review process. And it gets the assessor out, go to the property, speak to the owner, gather information as to why. The abatement applications, there are sections where it says state supporting documentation, why, and sometimes it's there's very little, sometimes there's none. There's a fine line, and if you're given very little, does it still have merit? We want to be fair. The whole name of the game is fair and equitable. And that's determined in my research and subsequent recommendations. I do tell taxpayers, hey, the two most important things that you will need to do is sign this application and put a date on it, because for a timely filing. If you need further subsequent supporting documentation, write so on the application, or get the application in. Because that will protect your rights to appeal. So that I review these situations and so forth. Answers to abatements. Now, you file by no later than March 1st, or if March 1st is a Saturday, it's the subsequent day business. Or if the tax bills went out late, you have a period of 60 days to file an abatement. But answers to abatement requests, they're statutorily not demanded to have a response until July 1st, okay? And it seems like a long way away, but that's the way the RSA is written. The town has until July 1st to answer. And sometimes we're still gathering information, or it's a busy year, there are a lot of things going on. Or we know we're going to deny a situation and we're waiting for them to give supporting documentation that in a situation that we feel is critical and it never comes. So July 1st comes and goes and they don't hear a response, then it's summarily denied. It can be considered summarily denied. I know it's, hey, there are better ways. I've been in a situation where July comes and I've called people. I've called people to let them know, hey, I'm still working on it. I've had other situations where I know it's going to be denied because people didn't, or a corporation or company didn't supply critical information. They know it's denied. But July 1st is the RSA statutorily given date for response from the community. And I want to bring that up because with the change in personnel and so forth, and in the select boards, I want to make sure you understand that. The tax year is really, it's set up so that these abatements come in March. And it's not like we pump them out in, during the month of April historically, okay? Hey, I don't mean we drag our heels every year, but the way the tax year is structured, once the abatements, the filing time for March comes and goes. Now it's March and April, and we have other duties as well, because now new inventory. We've got to beat the brush for all the permits and permitted building values and so forth. Update unfinished construction scenarios. We've got to prepare for that first billing to come out. And historically, we kind of do that. We do that process. And once we get a little later in April, coming into May, and we know we can get those bills out because the data's been collected, we can kind of double back and then see what's the status of these abatements and give them the time that they deserve, But in this situation here with April, I'm kind of proud. We're doing extremely well this year. I think there were a couple of dozen abatements which after a revaluation of about 3,800 parcels is very good. That's a good response, meaning that the response was better, the values are acceptable within the community. But we've already addressed a dozen, say, in 5, 6, whatever, abatement batches before the select board. And we're well on track to finish this up in the month of April, which is unheard of. And
Please know it's greatly appreciated.
and it might help me out later in my year, because I can work on, maybe assist another community that I have evaluations for in 2025. But these abatements, on the second page, if you flip it over, the timeline, abatement and appeal process timeline, it just gives you that brief. You file no later than March 1st, or 60 days if the bills, came out after a certain date, whenever. Receive a response no later than July 1st. And in the middle of that, right below it, it does say, or no municipal response indicates a denial. I mean, the RSA has already factored that in. But once these abatements are, I make my recommendation and they are considered by the BOS, they have, the taxpayer has a recourse if they're still not satisfied. This is what we call the local level. This isn't court. This is the local board of selectmen gathering the information, making informed decisions to grant or deny, and the taxpayer receives the letter of the course of action. They have until September 1 of any calendar year. If they're not happy, they can file with the State Board of Tax and Land Appeals. Now, it's not exactly a court. It's comprised of a 3-member state board. Typically, there are 1 or 2 attorneys, land attorneys, and perhaps someone from the appraisal field or assessing field. So they're educated folks specifically for matters of valuation. And they can either go to the BTLA, which is where most cases go, or they can go to Superior Court. You can't go to both, so you got to pick and choose. We had just taken care of a matter prior to Michael's leaving that involved potential Superior Court, and then it gets a little busy because now attorneys come into play and so forth. But the typical rule of action for taxpayer, once they pass your local level, is they can either go to the State Board of Tax and Land Appeals and take their appeal further, or Superior Court. Now, it's well explained in the manual. I'm just trying to think. It's hard to spit out what I do for years and years in a short session. And I do recommend anyone interested when the Department of Revenue has a statutes course. They have many ones, and they have some that are like a Monday through Thursday up in Concord, up at Triangle Park Drive there, the NHMA building. They're really good. The abatements that we're looking at tonight. Any questions with the process first overall?
How many have you denied with us?
I don't think I've denied any of them yet. So, but I do have a fair denial record. Okay, sometimes it bites me. I try to be objective. When I first came, at least in the town of Swanzey, one of the former selectmen, his mantra was, "Is it defendable? Is it defendable?" Whether what my gut or even the statistics, is it defendable? And I've gotten to a point in Swansea, New Hampshire, if it's if it's not strongly defendable, then let me take a look at it. Litigation costs money. What's the better? What's for the betterment of the whole? Okay, look at the big picture.
So, just understand this right, you deny, then the next option is coming in front of us, city, right?
No, Jim.
The approved board that he recommends.
Yes. If I may, Jim, you are the assessing body. You folks, the three in this situation, the selectmen, town of Swanzey, are the assessing body. I am contracted to assist you, and that's why my recommendations are recommendations. I want you to be informed when you make a decision to deny a grant. I think over time, when we develop a rapport, and I can gain your trust through working together, it's my recommendations will take on more and more support in your mind, to where okay, this is the basic looks pretty good. If you ever need further, then I will provide. Now it's not a situation where I'm going to do a mini appraisal scenario like that. If it's say it's I don't know, say if it's a market basket, a large high value property, rather than cross swords with another appraisal that's come my way. I've been in situations where I've suggested, hey, I have a guy that does appraisal work too, and he's a third party, and that's worked out well. These are situations that I bring up when I feel that it is defendable and so forth. And sometimes we want to ensure that we have the best defense. Situations like that, but you are the assessing body. When I did my reval, I did a fairly comprehensive analysis broken down on building types based on land and neighborhoods, parts of town for vacant and improved site values and so forth. That's on the books. My analysis worksheets are in a report that resides in your assessing person's office. That's there to be seen. It's a public book. If people have questions, they can see that. They can't just come in here and say, well, you told it, you base it on anything. You can slow the bus up and say, hey, take a look at our contracted assessor, take a look at this report book that's in the town offices, and then come back and talk to me. If he missed the mark here or there, show me. No one's perfect here. But we are we're just under 96%, and we're a year out. Okay, so the market shifted. My report was of April 1st of 24. Okay, now I think it's right where it's supposed to be, because the market hasn't gone down. I haven't seen an indication in sale yet. Any other questions?
I was curious about the hex hangers. What drove the rate up and what brought it so far?
There were two. Hey,
But I guess my main question is, how is it valued differently from other properties? Because it's a 1,000 square foot structure.
Right.
And it's incredible. It's
$100 grand. There were 200 for everyone's benefit. We have airport hangars, buildings, and they're typically long structures, and then multiple people lease or own. Some are owned individually, broken out like a condo, if you will, and some are leased, the structures are leased out, and some are leased out individually. It's hexagon hangar. That's its descriptive name, and the 4 or 5 tenants actually became a club of some sort, and they're now the Hexagon Hangar LLC. They were individually valued for years. They're requesting at some point that they be combined together, which is not to change the value, but if they want 1 bill as opposed to 5, I could certainly have a discussion with them and bring that information to the board if you wanted to do that. Billing is billing, but they lease from the city of Keene. Now, the city of Keene has other hangars that they don't lease or what have you, and they have two hangars that when I broke down the cost of this per square foot, it was, well, first, much less than the individual values from last year on the reval. But I have to keep that in mind, that cost per square foot, which is around $26 a square foot. They were citing around 20 in their request. Last year, of the 5, there were 3 that were about 58, and 2 of them were 100. Now, the 100 was on me. The coding on costing the hangar out, I had updated the 3 and missed the 2, so that was legitimate. And it stood right out. I mean, why I didn't catch it, I didn't catch it. But that's the process, right? There were sales of hangars that would have individually a sale to support that, but it's not in a lease scenario. These sales are for folks that own it, not leasing from the city of Keene, different situation, in keeping with what the other city of Keene hangars are, the total square footage. I had to, in my review, look at it as if those 5 individual abatements were one, and look at the total square foot.
So, really what I'm wondering, are they doing a pad lease and then they own the structure?
No, that's not the way it's explained to me.
So what? They're not leasing from the city. They own the unit.
They lease from the city.
So if they lease from the city, why are they paying the property tax? Because they're listed as the owner.
No, the city of Keene is listed as the owner on each individual. But the city of Keene comes and sets their lease based on what the tax obligation is. Sure, like any landlord would in a situation where the building, the value increases.
So it says
Hexagonal
as the owner.
as they file the abatement, but it would be, they're allowed to. They are in this situation. They are the lessee.
So why would the lessee be paying taxes?
That's between the city and the lessee in this arrangement. Their lease is predicated on the tax bill.
The lessee will be able to, as an owner. So
Several. One's Doug Green.
Doug Green's on all, but I guess where my
Portlight, Pete Delaney. They weren't individually named. They filed as one,
as the hexagonal, whatever.
and listed them all individually. is independent, but the town has independent cards. Each card has the city of Keene as the owner.
So again, why,
Well, they should, by right, they should have authorization, if nothing else, a letter of authorization from the city of Keene, making them, designating them as authorized to act, on their behalf.
well, personally,
Getting
I
permission.
prefer the city wasn't paying the tax based on the 1940 arrangement that they made, but,
I agree.
so we'll figure
But
out.
that is taxable.
How does the value get driven down to 20,000 per unit?
Yeah, it's about 23, 24. And what I did was I looked at the other city, the two other city hangars. And those were pricing out about 26. And those hangars are in late 80s, 90 built. There's more depreciation on that hex for age and the condition as well. A lack of poured floor, the things like that. It's an older, less lower quality, and after considering for depreciation, $26 a square foot was now down around 23.
It's owned by the city of Keene.
Okay. So that's something we just need to have a better understanding, because I still don't understand why they're paying the tax.
I don't like rushing through that one, I'll be honest with you. And that's another thing I'd like to discuss briefly. And hey, for the taxpayers of Swanzey, this is a situation where, not to say it's a pushy situation, but they say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but not always. And these are situations where the squeaky wheels maybe need to be told to sit tight, and we'll get back to you when we can. I'm sorry that the city of Keene in this situation, your landlord, wants to increase your obligation or whatever through this situation, but it was a bit of a push on this one. I would have liked more information.
Can they even apply for it?
Pardon?
Doesn't the owner have to apply for the abatement?
The owner should apply for the yes, or in the back there's a spot where they can have their representative, if you will. Okay, now they skipped that. I know the parties and I don't know who they are, but that alone would slow the process down and stall it until things are done properly. The hangars, I've had conversations with people regarding the values of these things. Bill, as Mr. Hotwelker just mentioned earlier, 1930, 1940 rates. Hangars, new hangar values, brand new, are upwards of 200 grand plus and up. Okay, now this may be a situation where the cost of living hasn't caught up with airport hangars in Swanzey at the Dillon Hopkins, but the individual owners, those who buy their units, the sale will show that what they're paying it has gone up, at least doubled from 9-10 years ago when I came on the scene, and very few of them complained of that their assessment was too high, because they got what they paid for. And they probably got a good deal too, but the sale price is what it was. And I really don't have a strong database on airport hangar sales and so forth as yet. They were, you know, we're dealing in 5-year increments. So, you know, 5 or 10, even 10 years ago, there was little to no data, and it's taken 10 years to just start, you know, accumulating some of the data. And it's been that kind of thing when I came on the scene, and certainly before my watch, where people would, just, you know, put a number on it. And that's not right. We know that. So, I don't want to seem ultra conservative, but I also don't want to put the town in any kind of, you know, jeopardy where it's something that we can't defend either. I thought, you know, given the nature of the volume of call traffic going through the town, that it might have been in the best interest to look at the other buildings that they own, and a portion of cost per square foot that would be equitable compared to the other two. Once again, this is a recommendation, and we may not always agree. So I think Bill might have a good point. This may be a situation tonight with those abatements. Right? The board is well within the rights to, we're going to hold off on this one, on these. And we can inform the taxpayer that we would like more information, or we would like the application properly signed. I mean, at least one of these are like attorneys and so forth. They should know better than anybody. How to properly file something.
Yeah.
Mr. Green's an attorney at law, for example. He should know better.
How many do we have?
There's either 5 or 6, yeah.
You don't know.
Well, there are 5, because it's one hang, and it's cut up into 5. So it's really, it's one scenario. But technically,
You're leaving it wrong.
oh, it's just getting good.
Pass this back.
I don't want to be here with my name comes up.
Thanks for coming.
Of course.
But Mr. Hallwalker is down, you know, and the board's well within its rights to ask for more information and to slow me down in that one. And I would appreciate it actually. With the change in format here, new members, a new administrator. I've been trying to accommodate the town to kind of put the reval in the rearview mirror. It's not necessarily, I'm not saying I'm wrong, doing the wrong things. But my methodology on that is very sound. But if you don't agree with my recommendation, that's why there's 2 lines on that. One's grant and one's denied. And a denial actually it doesn't end their road of appeal. It just says, hey, locally, well, we disagree, and blah blah blah, and then that offers the avenue of appeal to a higher level, which also reopens the communication between the town and the taxpayer, or taxpayers in this case. You know, I can also and have many times in my recommendation to say I've recommended deny at this time. lack
I
of.
do agree with Jim. Normally, there's some denials that come through, and this year there haven't been any.
Right.
Maybe it's just the run. I'm not
You know, when you have 24 plus or minus out of 3,700, I don't think they're, the ones I've seen so far, they're not outrageous. They're not outrageous, and they've been predominantly physical driven. There are some coming up yet that, for example, there are 3 abatements involving different mini-store, self-storage properties that they're going to be the last ones that I take the time to examine. I've just reached out to one of them today, Mr. Beal, and I've asked him for additional income expense information and an appraisal if he has one. And I'm going to do that with the other 2 as well. The hexagon.
Yeah.
Now, I printed my recommendations so I could follow along with you folks, but I didn't print out the original copy of the request. But I do recall the request. I believe it does say lease.
Yeah.
And could you read that for me, Mr. Tempesta? Oh, no, the original application. We have copies here. I thought it did mention the, we have with our lease agreement, but for some reason, the lease agreement wasn't with me.
So, some of them came through as a complete, some come through with a summary. So we've asked that we get the complete package moving forward.
Which would be the original, that's how I submit them. I submit the original, a property card, and my recommendation.
Some of these are the full packet, and that's what we'll be getting in the future.
Okay, good. But we don't have the full one tonight for that. May I make a recommendation to the board?
Yeah.
My recommendation on the 5 individual filed as one. My recommendation tonight, based on our conversation, is to don't deny tonight, don't grant tonight. Please hold it off to your next meeting, and I will come in again. And let's pick that up, and I'll bring some more information from them regarding the lease and what is with the whys and the whats from the city of Keene to use the taxpayer, and perhaps the town. I'll look at Lori. Are you on the payroll yet?
Yeah.
She's getting a dinner on her way home.
Fantastic. Next week, perhaps, I can call your office, or we can craft, whatever I would suggest is a letter crafted requesting the proper application, an addendum. Now, they did file, okay, and by rights, it could be denied, okay? There's a reason for denial. But
we got to wrap up because we got some non-publics we have to.
I'm sorry, okay.
I'm giving a lot of information.
But if we just shelve this tonight, it'll be good. And this is a bumper year, okay, because of the revaluation. 24, 25, whatever they are. That's a bumper banner year for abatements. Historically, the town of Swanzey, well, before I came to the board, but in the last 10 years, I mean, we're looking at on a big year, 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not crazy. So don't be disheartened, disheartened by the fact that seems like there are a lot of it. We did read 3,700 parcels, 24, 26. That's a low percentage. I'm sorry.
We appreciate it, we need the education.
Do you want to go you want to go through them one at a time here?
No, we'll take them next week, but we've got to move on because we've got other.
Very good. I apologize
For what?
for carrying on here.
Yeah, provide education.
Hey, I know, I got the power now, that I can now.
And
Thank you.
seriously, to Mark as well, I know you don't talk, the board does not have conversations outside of discuss matters outside of this. But individually, if you have a question that you need answered, a basic question, don't hesitate, okay? I don't have all the answers, but if I do know how to say, I'll get back to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Or look forward to it.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, welcome. Sorry, sir.
All right, I noticed this was in our consent agenda, but we need to just review the, under new business, the request from the assessment coordinator that we sign an updated agreement with CAI Technologies. And Michael, that's the group that does the GIS for us, for the town. And our current contract calls for an annual update, so that means all the properties in town are updated at one time instead of ongoing. By agreeing to pay them an additional $2,500 a year or $200 a month, it allows the coordinator to update the record on a monthly basis. So she's already doing it in terms of submitting to the Registry of Deeds and reviewing all that. But it gives us an opportunity to have the maps upgraded and to have the input done on a monthly basis. So, is that all right?
Do you think it's well made, well said?
Absolutely, because it allows us to keep our mapping system
Makes
current.
sense.
And also the records current.
Yeah. Okay, you want a motion for that?
I make a motion that we authorize CAI Technologies for a monthly update instead of annual to our Access GIS system that costs not to exceed $2,500 a year.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, that would be beneficial. So we get the, gosh, my eyes are getting terrible. Okay, so we were sought out by a group that is lobbying the State House with regard to school funding fairness. And in your packet, it's at the end of the packet is a letter, it's an email, as well as all of the other municipal officials throughout the state that have signed. One of your people signed. Were you aware of the letter? No. So I think that it's something that I don't see how we lose by signing it. There's so much contention with regard to taxes and downshifting from the state that this is an effort on the part of this group to encourage the state to stop the downshifting and increase funding. I don't see how we lose on that. And it's individual, so we can sign collectively. We can go into town hall tomorrow and sign that, or go in individually.
Yeah, there's ranch.
It's just consensus, it's not.
Got it.
All right.
So we would have to be, we all would sign together?
We can or we can't. We can sign individually or collectively. So we're by consensus.
We can take it from the board of directors of Swanzey?
Selectmen, but
Selectmen.
but it would be individuals.
Okay.
Yeah. He gets his boards mixed up. He serves on so many. Okay? All right, so we'll make sure we have that printed out at some point tomorrow. Response to public input. All right, we wanted to talk about goals tonight. You were away for 2 days, taking care of personal matters.
I heard.
Do you want to defer this?
You want me to talk about goals?
Yeah, or put it off a week. What do you?
I'm not prepared for it, but I'll listen to our goals if you want. You guys' goals if you want to speak about it. But I'm fine.
Well, I mean, one goal is obviously we gotta work on the water system. I know it's still 2 years out, but obviously we gotta start now. We want to set up that committee for governance. I agree with that. We need to, and I talked to Cheryl the other day, economic development. She definitely wants to be on it, so. Two of the things I think we definitely need to work on.
The other two for me were welcoming this young lady into our fold and supporting her as best we can. Obviously, continuing to work on the fire station and take an take a strong approach to encourage completion sooner rather than later. And then just regularly monitoring our other processes.
Good. Yeah, and
That's all I'm doing. I think in addition, we want to continue to work with Adam, who's looking into how we can better make this space more functional and user-friendly.
Phil, sorry, can you, there's an Adam on the planning board?
Adam Buckett.
Okay, thank you.
Adam Mulhern's on the zoning board, not to correct you.
I never know which Adam you're referring to, so.
Good point. And then, of course, we have the Mark Scalera request to not raise taxes, but replace the chairs
He
with
did.
something more.
I took care of that,
You took care of what?
replacing his chair.
Oh,
He's the only
but that didn't help Michael.
It's been big.
You can go forward, too.
Who cares about the old jar yet anyway?
I had a meeting the other day, I went to the board meeting for the economic development. They wanted me to bring back to the board that they would like to see like code enforcement and fire department, when they go to do inspections on properties, to do it together so there's not a delay and these people get approval quicker. They feel that they're there together, they'll be able to maybe check each other's work, so if one of them misses the other, so they wanted me to bring that forward. And the only other thing I wanted to bring forward is, I think we should have our select board meetings like earlier in the afternoon. I mean, it's almost 8 o'clock now, and it's not even so much that, but we have all these people that come in that work for the town. They probably don't want to be here till 8 o'clock at night either, and I think it would be beneficial. It's video. We know Mike's going to come regardless. You know,
Are we going to keep you guys on?
I appreciate it. So that would be my recommendation, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon instead of 5:30 in the afternoon. So I like it.
Well, we can review that. Good point. Michael, anything else?
Not off the bat, I'm just waiting for you guys to put those committees together, because I will volunteer for one of them or the other.
Yeah, we wanted to wait until Lori was in place.
Well, that makes
so-
sense.
So she could join with us in this, because there's so many projects that are going on now
Yeah.
that she's gonna have to play catch up on, that at least this would give her an opportunity to participate.
The other thing I wanted to mention to you too, the impact fees we were talking about. There's some resistance on the board. One is they're afraid they're gonna put too much additional work on the staff. My solution, but that's not our place. We're supposed to look at zoning and see what makes sense for the town and propose zoning amendments. And if it puts additional work on the staff, then that's up to the select board and the administrator to work that out. And that's my opinion.
It seems like impact fees, we could do some research on to develop
I've got
a schedule that would be.
I've got a handbook that I found also on it, from 1999, but there's nothing newer, that I gave to Adam.
Well, once we have a policy in place, and once you all create whatever it is, in other words, what you assess, whatever that impact.
Yeah, we have to
fee is
make a
going to be.
matrix of what we want to access
Yeah.
and all that. There's a big step to it, but it has to be done by the planning board as far as what, well, actually, the select board will do it too. Because the select board can't do zoning. But we traditionally, the Swanzey, of course, left it all to the planning board. The other thing I want to mention, even,
So anyway, on that topic, if we can receive something from the planning board, then the next step, it's really not any significant impact on staff once the planning board has determined what they're going to do, because it's just a part of the permitting process.
right,
So when someone, when they pull a building permit, they pay their impact fee, or they pay a portion of it, and the balance when they get their CO. So it would just seem to me it would be
Right,
based
it's
on
not-
what we put together, and that's just handled.
but accounts do have to be set up for it.
Yeah, because you're gonna know where the funds are going in, right? Because all the funds are gonna be different.
Right,
Where they're going
and
in.
it's up to the town, the planning board, the select board together to say, where do we want to put impact fees? You don't have to do them on everything. You could do them on commercial mostly, but I feel you should do some on the homes, single-family homes, only the fact they're gonna have a big impact on the schools. We want to keep it affordable, so when guys build a new home, that it doesn't keep him from building his home. Not that's a start.
Because there's gonna be different rates for different
Different rates
projects.
for different places, exactly.
I mean,
We just have
some of them are gonna be
rates.
less impact, some of them are gonna be more impact.
Exactly.
You do a business, or the children are going to school.
And
Right.
the other thing
I
that
think that's where your difficult part is, to figure all those fees out, like, what are they? So, like, you're gonna be able to look it up, okay, oh, they're gonna put in this, so
Right.
this is the rate that we're gonna charge an impact fee, am I
Right.
correct?
that's correct, but that has to be in the zoning amendment itself.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to this.
So, there's a lot of work to do, yes. And the only other thing was that there
We'll blame it on Laurie, she isn't here yet, we'll get right on that when she gets here. We blame everything on her now.
well, I plan on working with her on it too, because I'm the one that's actually pushing us on the board. I have been for a few years, Bill knows that. So, yeah, I'll be working with Lori on it.
I heard it the first day he became selectman.
Anything else, Michael?
Well, they also wanted to, Scott mentioned about trying to do some type of, if we'd have had fees back, how much money would we have collected up for the last 5 years?
What about a fire truck?
I tried to make fire truck, firehouse, the school that we're building now, that would have helped with that, because the Swanzey portion of the school, anything to do with schools, we could put that in there too. They need new laptops or whatever. Swanzey's portion, you can pay out of that, that's less burden on the taxpayers. And that's what we're trying to sell. This is a less burden on the taxpayers than having a shared cost with people that are building the town.
What towns in this area have impact fees? Do you have a lot of towns?
Not a lot of towns, Wyndham has, where Michael's going.
Can you have an impact fee?
No, but they have,
They do, they put it on market basket.
the planning board, can already, without impact fees in place, can require somebody, if they see, like, Safford Road, where we finally talked to the developer to give us some money for it, we could have demanded it, we could have made it
How did they pay the
Market basket.
market basket.
Well, actually, we got funds as well for Ash Hill Road, but
Right.
Keene had an impact fee, regional impact.
Wow.
And part of
Usually-
the market basket's land is in Keene.
I didn't know that.
Very narrow strip. but part of the-
That's why they were people look at this section.
Traditionally, what we've done is made agreements with these builders.
Was that?
Traditionally, what the planning board has done is made agreements with different contractors. When I come in, we see, okay, we need to do this, we've got agreements from them. But the impact fees would share that right across the road. We wouldn't put in a new water system here in West Swansea if we can. Our impact fees would help with that. Infrastructure.
You're preaching to the choir.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna keep preaching to the planning board every week too.
Bill's a big fan of it.
Anybody else have anything? All right, you have non-publics? Megan? We under 91A? Alright.
Make a motion going to non-public under 91A.
Second.
Megan?
Roll call. Augusta.
Me?
Here.
Thank you, Michael.
See you later.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Garrett. A little longer one for you, but nice to know that you're home.
Yeah.